To survive in the apocalypse, you need to be tough, and the protagonist of today's webtoon took that very literally. Welcome to another first impression. Today I present to you a story called Steel Eating Player. We will see many familiar elements, but also new twists and ideas, so let me read you the summary for now. Steel Emperor Hyeonuk Lee, the last savior of humanity, has died. The place you return to in order to change the future is the military? Why here of all places? Corporal Hyeonuk Lee's steel-eating show begins as he rapidly grows to get revenge. Dying as one of the strongest humans? Check. Returning back in time to an odd place? Check. Wanting to get revenge? Check. Everything is set in place for this story to jump right into the pool of 100 plus other stories with the exact same basic premise. Once more, gates are opening and monsters are invading Earth. However, instead of calling the people fighting against the monsters hunters, in this story they are called players. All of them. You might have already expected this, but the main character is an F-class player. But he is special. I know, a very unique twist. How the protagonist actually managed to return to the past has not been explained so far, so I am fearing it will just never get mentioned again. The power of the protagonist seem fun. So far I think he has to eat metal or steel and that makes him grow stronger. Which is why he's the steel-eating player. Depending on the quality of the metal, the power boost also increases quite a lot. One example of how his power is growing stronger is him being able to control heavier loads of metal. A good decision you cannot find in every story of this kind is that some humans have actually betrayed humanity and joined the side of the monsters, becoming a different species altogether that is just being called villains. Maybe demons would be more accurate, but I don't know Korean. After reading so many stories with this premise, I also can't help myself but wonder how these class rankings are made. How can every single world have the protagonist at F class, but they somehow turn out to be legendary warriors in the end? At this point, I would rather have an average Andy compared to a weak Willy. These guys are getting way too frequent. So, this is a very classic start. People underestimate the main character who returned from the future, and they will soon get their butts kicked. To make a real judgment, I still need to see a bit more of the personality of our protagonist, but it does seem promising so far, despite the generic setting and premise. I would even go so far as to call the main character pretty cool. His fighting style is similar to that of the weapon creator protagonist. However, both of them have their own unique twist on why they are able to fight like that. Getting to see a one versus many battle in chapter 1 already is setting up a lot of excitement for the future. The biggest hope is that the main character is going to work together well with other people. Having knowledge of the future could make him the perfect teacher for other people. Pushing people with massive potential that died too early in his first life could be a very cool idea. Having a good art style is always a positive for a story, especially nowadays where people call something peak or the greatest of all time just because it's drawn or animated nicely. For Steel Eating Player, the artist has shown that they are capable of drawing a lot of different expressions, both for humans and for the monster's emotions. Seeing that our protagonist is not all that strong after returning to the past, it is very nice to see that he is using his knowledge to create strategies that will give him the edge over others. However, I would still say that he is slightly careless at the moment. Maybe he is underestimating weak monsters because he has just been that strong for a very long time. A playful and powerful personality is fun to follow. Chapter 2 mainly focuses on the first big battle, giving us a good perspective on what the future fights might look like. Additionally, I have to say that this is a very nice way that is also not forced to give the main character a power boost from the very beginning, without it seeming like he did not earn it for himself either. This might sound a bit petty, but it is always a nice thing if the plans of a person don't work out perfectly. It shows that the characters of the story have the ability to be wrong, and gives us, the readers, some very much needed fear that things can take a turn for the worse. The pacing of Steel Eating Player is quite nice, not too slow and not too fast, just about right. The battle tactics are pretty cool and unique, not relying solely on himself but also making up for what he is lacking by using others. Alone, these low-ranking fighters or players might be weak, but together they can pack quite the punch. One thing other characters keep on saying is that the protagonist will likely get punished for disobeying orders. I kind of get that when you look at the military, but he is also saving many lives by acting like this. So I would say it's a classic dilemma of being punished for technically doing something good. The overall first battle was well done. The ending, however, felt slightly convenient. I guess we are still in a tutorial and are figuring out things about the protagonist and his powers, so we had to see it now. However, from here on out, I think things will keep on escalating very fast. The steel-eating player is an unknown factor for this timeline, and we will discover how much he can change and if humanity will still lose in the future of the story. Even if the main character hid how the battle actually played out and also used the powers of other army members, rumors are still going to spread around about the weird F-class person. I am expecting either an investigation on him or a very fast promotion. Over the course of these first 5 chapters, we have met a good amount of different characters. Besides the villain from the first life and the monsters, none of them really felt like potential antagonists. Some humans are just stupid idiots, model douchebags you could say. In the army there are always people like that. That for sure will create trouble for us in the future, but there's no way that these people will actually be antagonists. They're just stupid. They already feel threatened because an apparent F-class, our protagonist, was able to defeat a lot of monsters by himself. Well, technically with some help of other people, which is not normal. So if other people of the low ranks learn about it and maybe group up under our MC, it might create an imbalance and they could change how the military functions entirely. This scenario here will be a major thing in the world of steel-eating player, and also for us readers, because it will determine in which direction the story will go. I do like that we have number rankings besides the basic letter rankings as well. Numbers are always neat. Sweet talking a higher ranking member of the army. You love to see it, but that's the only way our protagonist right now can survive. I mean, technically speaking, everything our protagonist said is true, but in the end he only wanted to fool the others, so is it really true? Something that will stay with us for a bit is the squad led by that douchebag character, and that is getting annoying very quickly. I hope they get dealt with quickly, either simply getting thrown out of the army or getting imprisoned for some sort of treason, because they are quite literally destroying the sense of unity that otherwise can be felt in the army so far. This is great. The next potential ace of the army getting humiliated by the F-class player. But now that our protagonist has shown what he is capable of to a degree, in a public space also, a lot of other things should happen as well. The ace and his stupid leader need to be taught a lesson, and defeating them in front of everyone was an incredible first step. Even after finishing the first major battle, we don't slow down in any way. Already see more fights and thus also learning more about the protagonist's fighting style. The steel control ability offers a wide variety of usage, and it seems like the main character will get very creative with it, which I always enjoy. Yes, he already grew massively since the first chapter, but he is still on the weaker side. For now, a lot of tactical prowess is needed to balance out the lack of power, but when both are present in the future, it will be a massacre. As expected, other characters are already getting interested in our main character, which shows us that we are in for big changes in the army system or our main character just leaving the army. Overall, I can tell you that while generic, steel-eating player is still fun to read. After all, there is a reason why this premise is getting used so often. The protagonist is a good character. He might have a few screws loose, but he is still someone you can cheer for. He actually cares about his subordinates and it has a nice mix of goofiness and seriousness. So it will be very interesting to see how the story will develop. Will he stay with the army? Will he create his own guild to help other F-class players? Or will he somehow still end up a lone wolf, even if that would contradict some things we've already learned in the story? All these questions can only be answered by reading all future chapters of Steel-Eating Player. I already compared this webtoon to another one we talked about, and in many ways I see them as true equals. That means that on a scale from F to triple S, I will give Steel-Eating Player a B+, just like Weapon Creator. I think this is fair. A B+ is slightly above average, which is exactly what you need to survive and thrive nowadays. If you want a story that so far is more focused on the military, Steel-Eating Player is a must-read. If you want another Monster Hunter story, this is also worth to check out. I would really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. Then you will get guaranteed weekly new webtoon recommendations and also some webtoon reactions. However, for today, that is all from me. All that's left to be said is stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay cultured. Pyro out. Bye.